Hey guys, Max82 and welcome back to another tryout. Today's tryout is on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Obviously I played it on Switch. I got Scarlet, my partner got Violet, so we have copied both. I've only really played Scarlet. I don't really have any footage of Violet. So most of the footage you'll be seeing is of Scarlet, and I'm gonna do the opposite of what I typically do. I'd usually start with positives and then end off with negatives. I'm going to start with the negatives because I think this is more interesting if I do that. This game looks and performs pretty terrible overall. Like, the stuttering is noticeable, you know, things like frame dropping, just skipping frames. It runs poorly. It's a very poorly optimized game. I saw people talking about there might be a memory leak so that it like gets worse the longer you run the game as well. It was definitely rushed to market because that's how Pokemon works. There's a whole media franchise, the most profitable media franchise, the most popular media franchise in the world, and so there's all this stuff that has to line up and sit together or whatever for like market synergy or whatever. And so like it had to come out when it came out, and it did, and that's the problem. From what I can tell, reviewers got in to play an even worse version of this game because the reviewers didn't even have the day one patch. So what I'm playing is after the day one patch. So like people who got early review copies were playing a worse version of this, which I can't even imagine like if that was playable. As for non-performance issues that I have with the game, it took me like 3 hours to get through the tutorial section, and part of that is because I was screwing around and not paying very close attention, because I was talking to people and while I was playing and stuff like that. But additionally, my partner didn't have that, and it still took her like 2 hours to get through it. It's excessive for Pokemon. Like, I get it. I get how Pokemon works. I get you're trying to introduce some new concepts to me, but like, it's just not very streamlined. I'm sure people can get through it a little bit faster than we did because, you know, we're just sort of like, how it goes here is you start off, you make your character, is you get your little opening cutscene, just a fully animated cutscene, and the fully animated cutscenes are extra weird without voice acting. Like, Pokemon not having voice acting in the past, it's like, okay, because it's all of these like visual novel-esque, okay, we got a text box, and visual novels frequently aren't fully voiced. They typically have some voiced stuff, but they're usually not fully voiced, so it's like, okay, it's just Pokemon. But when you get these like fully animated cutscenes that don't have like the dialogue boxes you click through, it becomes like very apparent that like something is missing in these. It's like your mouth is moving as though you're saying words, but I'm just reading the text on screen instead, and I have to imagine what your voice sounds like. That's a bit of a tangent. You get your opening cutscene, you start playing, you know, your mom is like, hey, it's time to go to school soon, but not yet because apparently you gotta get something from the school. And then the headmaster or whatever, the school director, shows up in person to be like, hi, I'm here to give you your thing, and also a Pokemon. And he just drops the Pokemon onto your front porch, is like, pick one and meet me down the street. And so the way that you're thinking, if you've played a Pokemon game, okay, pick one here, I'll just pick one. And then you interact with them and they just go like, yo, what's up? I'm a Pokemon. It's like, oh, okay, what am I doing? I walked around my house, took some pictures of trying to do like just check out what the menus and stuff. But you have to walk down the street to your neighbor to actually pick the Pokemon. And your neighbor is very like, I want to battle you for the rest of my life and no one else. We're married now. Good for you, we just met. I'm being a bit harsh on the narrative as Pokemon, but like, this stuff just keeps going, and then Nimona, your rival who wants to battle you and only you for the rest of eternity, is like, okay, I'm gonna show you how to catch Pokemon, and then you get a little open area where you can try out that thing, and then it's like, you get a part where you're introduced to the legendary Pokemon, and you get the legendary Pokemon in a ball, and it's like, oh, that's cool, I already have the legendary Pokemon, I can't use it, but I have it. And so that's a section that takes up time. And then after that, you have more stuff where it's like, okay, this is, you know, towns, this is how Pokemon centers work, this is how trainer battles work, here's an area to experiment with that. Cool. You walk through that area, you could just leave, and then you battle Nimona a second time. You already battled her earlier, basically as your trainer battle tutorial. So now you're getting your Terastalizing tutorial, or at least what it's like to fight against that. And then you get to go into the town where the school is, which is its own area separate from like the open world. It's a different loading zone. So you load into the town, and you can look around the town, and it's like, oh, there's shops, and here's the shops, the different shops. Go check out the shops. Now you have this area that you can check out and explore. And then you head towards the school, and you get another battle, and it's like, okay, you're being introduced to how to use Terastalizing, and also Team Star. And then you go to school, and you're getting introduced to the school concepts, tutorializing, and the overarching narrative, and then you have a cutscene that's like, okay, you've been in school for a while, it's time for the great treasure hunt, and now you're finally out of the tutorial. It takes way too long to get to that point, I think. Like, there's no reason for it to take that long. I've sat here explaining it to you, and you probably left already, you know? I just think, like, you could cut to the chase on a lot of that. You don't really need to give the player these areas to check out for all these little concepts, and you could teach all of these little concepts more together all at once, in a lot of ways. As for back to the visuals, Nintendo still doesn't know how to use anti-aliasing, so everything is very jagged. Again, the game doesn't look great. Like, the Pokemon models are generally fine and very high detail. And even like the other trainers look fine, but the amounts of like pop-in that you get as you're traveling, there's just a lot of other visual problems that make the game very not good looking. And there's all those negatives. But honestly, this feels a bit refreshing in some ways to have a very open Pokemon experience. It takes you a bit to get to it, but to have this very open Pokemon experience is a bit refreshing for the series. It's been overall very like, all right, you're going to go from here to 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 here. And you can go to some other places along the way. You have some offshoots, but like, this is your path. This is how you do the game. And to have it so it's like, here's all the stuff you got to do, and you can more or less do it in any order you want. It's not exactly any order. There are Team Star bases that sort of block off later areas, and so you have to defeat a Team Star base to move on to the next area. But there's only 4 Team Star bases, so it's not like super blocking you off, and there's 2 Team Star bases available at the start as well, so it's like you still have plenty, you know, that you are able to do in these areas, and you can still very much forge your own path. It's just not like, oh, I'm gonna go fight Grusha first. That's fine, that makes sense. It's still very open, especially for a Pokemon game. I honestly think it's even more open than Legends Arceus, as I also thought was very refreshing. I do think that I like Legends Arceus better as like an overall game, because it leans into this art style that sort of masks a lot of the visual issues that the game has, which Scarlet and Violet does not do, at least not enough. And then the other big thing is that there is now co-op. You can play very directly with your friends and run around the world. And I played for about like an hour or so with my partner. Its performs a bit worse. I didn't really notice it being that much worse, but she did. So it performs worse because you're now online and you're dealing with online latency and stuff. And there are some things that are like, okay, why doesn't this just work? Like, I tried to do a raid with my partner and we couldn't figure out how to do one together. It was really very confusing. So you feel like if you're both in the world together and you both interact with the same raid crystal, you should just show up together. But that is not the case. I don't know how to do it. But you're pretty much just both in your own worlds, but you can see each other and you can interact with each other. And you just can do your own thing. You don't even really need to be close to each other, as far as I can tell. It's, you know, if you want to go on a Pokemon adventure with a friend or friends, you can do that now, and that's very cool. I do think that if Game Freak could get some of the performance issues cleaned up, this would be even better. I do think as it is, like if you can look past those performance issues, because I don't think they make the game unplayable, it just makes it a poor experience. You know, it's not unplayable. You can look past it, especially if you're not particularly sensitive to frame stuttering and frame drops and fluctuating frame rates. You can certainly look past it and play it. And I think if you can do that, it's fine. The game is fine. And I will play more of it, and hopefully Game Freak can fix some of this stuff going forward. But like, it shouldn't have released like this. Like, it really should not have released in this state. This is not how the game industry needs to be functioning. The industry itself has some major issues, and I wish there was a better way to sort of go, hey, I want to play your game, and I want to support you financially as a company, but I want you to get better. Because it just seems like you can't do all three of those things. You know, either you don't play the game, you don't support them financially, or they don't get better, and it sucks. And we're sort of pigeonholed into this, and Game Freak is just one of many that are a part of this problem. Anyway, I personally am going to play more of the game, and especially if they fix things, I do recommend it, especially if you have friends you can play with. I think just the fact that you can inhabit the same world together is fun. That stuff is fun. People like that. I like that. So like, check it out, I guess. But like, also like, maybe don't wait on it. But I think it passes trial for me. Probably wait on it. Probably wait and see if things get fixed, or like they fix that memory leak that I guess is in there or whatever. It sucks that I have to like put so many disclaimers over I like the game. Like, I like the game, but maybe wait like a little while to see if they actually are going to support and update and fix things. And, you know, I don't know, it just sucks. It just sucks that this is the way things are. Because I haven't been into a Pokemon game in a long time, and it's like, this is cool. This is cool that I can just run around on a four-legged bike and just run around the world and go wherever and, you know, do whatever. And I like that part. I like that. I like games like that. But like, it's not a state it should be in. I've been a bit rambly this episode because I had a lot of things I wanted to try to say that weren't just in my notes. So I think I got everything out that I wanted to say about it. So we'll just get to the end of it here. What do I say? Description, Beacons.ai link, Twitter, Patreon, Bandcamp, Redbubble, etc. They're in that. Subscribe if you want to keep with this and other shows. Like, dislike, leave a comment. Have you played Scarlet and Violet yet? What have you had? What's your experience been? Have you seen all the glitch compilations that are wild? I've not seen anything particularly wild, but let me know in the comments what your experience is. Share the video, do the things, anything. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.